Jack Harmon stared at the screen, his eyes burning from lack of sleep. The blip appeared again, the fifth time tonight. Something was moving through Earth's atmosphere that shouldn't be there. "Come on, show yourself," he muttered, adjusting the settings on his equipment. The Arctic research station hummed around him, the walls creaking as wind battered the isolated outpost. 3 months since the military had sent him here, a punishment assignment after he'd challenged his superiors once too often. The blip vanished. Jack rubbed his face and checked the time. 3:47 a.m. He reached for his coffee, finding the mug empty. "Still chasing ghosts, Lieutenant?" Dr. Mason stood in the doorway, arms crossed. The station director had made his opinion clear. Jack was wasting resources on nothing. "These readings are real," Jack said. "Something's up there, something big. Atmospheric anomalies happen all the time. That's why we're here, remember? Climate research." Jack pulled up the data logs. "Look at the pattern. These aren't random. They're moving with purpose," Mason sighed. "Get some sleep, Harmon, that's an order." After Mason left, Jack copied his findings to a private drive. The military might have buried him in this frozen wasteland, but his instincts hadn't failed him yet. The next morning, Jack modified the station's radar array when no one was watching. If standard equipment couldn't detect these objects clearly, he needed something better. For 2 weeks he worked through the nights, adjusting frequencies and writing new detection algorithms. The objects appeared more frequently now, sometimes 3 or 4 at once, moving in formation. On the 17th night, everything changed. Jack's modified scanner picked up a new signature, larger than anything before. He adjusted the settings, heart pounding as the image clarified. What the hell? The shape on his screen was unmistakable, a massive craft at least half a mile long hovering 30 miles above Earth. His equipment showed it bending light around its hull, making it invisible to conventional detection. Jack grabbed his phone and called Mason. "You need to see this now." 10 minutes later, Mason stood beside him, face pale. "That's impossible," the director whispered. "It's been there all along," Jack said. "We just couldn't see it." Jack worked frantically, refining his detection system. He discovered the objects existed partially out of phase with normal space. They weren't just invisible, they were partially in another dimension. 3 days later, Jack captured clear images of 7 massive ships positioned around Earth. He sent the data to military command, but received only automated responses. "They think I'm crazy," he told Mason, who now believed him. "We need better proof." Jack modified a satellite uplink to broadcast on the frequency he discovered. If he could force the ships to respond, everyone would see them. The signal went out at midnight. At 12:17 a.m., alarms blared throughout the station. Jack ran to his equipment and froze. All 7 ships were moving, converging on various points around the globe. One was heading directly for the research station. "We need to evacuate," Jack yelled, downloading his research to a portable drive. The building shook. Through the windows, Jack saw the northern lights distort unnaturally. The air itself seemed to tear open. "They know we can see them," Mason said, voice shaking. The first explosion hit the east wing. Jack grabbed his equipment and ran for the emergency exit as the ceiling collapsed behind him. Outside in the bitter cold, Jack watched the research station crumble under attacks from an enemy no one could see. His phone buzzed with emergency alerts from around the world. The invasion had begun. 6 months after the first attack, Jack crouched behind a burned-out car watching the patrol pass. The aliens, now called Voidwalkers, moved like heat waves in the air, almost invisible except through the special goggles he wore. 3 of them, heading east, he whispered into his radio. "Copy that," Alicia Reyes responded. "Hold position." Jack checked his weapon, a modified rifle that could target the partially visible aliens. The technology was crude compared to what he'd developed at the research station, but it worked. The world had changed overnight. Major cities lay in ruins. Governments had fallen. The military had been crushed in the first wave, unable to fight an enemy they couldn't see. Jack waited until the patrol disappeared around a corner, then moved quickly through the abandoned streets of what used to be Denver. The resistance base was hidden in an old subway tunnel, protected by Jack's detection systems. Alicia met him at the entrance, a former army commander with hard eyes and a scar across her cheek. "Did you get it?" she asked. Jack pulled a small device from his pack. Voidwalker communication relay, still intact. Inside the base, 30 people worked at makeshift stations. Some modified weapons with Jack's technology. Others monitored detection systems. They were the largest resistance cell in the western states. "Nice work, Harmon," said Alicia, examining the alien device. "Ryan, see if you can crack it." Ryan Chen, their tech expert, took the device to his workstation. Jack removed his goggles and rubbed his tired eyes. "Any word from the other cells?" "Chicago went dark yesterday," Alicia said quietly. "That's the third this month." Jack nodded grimly. The resistance was losing ground. "I've been thinking about the detection tech," he said. "The Voidwalkers exist partially in another dimension. That's why they're hard to see. But what if we could force them fully into our dimension?" "Is that possible?" "Theoretically. If we could generate a strong enough field, we might be able to anchor them here completely." Before Alicia could respond, Ryan called out from his station. "I'm in. Their system is strange, but I can read some of it." His face went pale. "This is bad. Really bad." They gathered around his screen. The alien data showed deployment patterns and troop movements. "What are those large signatures?" Alicia pointed to massive objects in Earth orbit. "Transport ships," Jack said, his stomach dropping. "These aren't invasion forces, they're just the advance team." Ryan nodded. "According to this, the main invasion fleet arrives in 2 weeks." The base fell silent as the news sank in. "We need to hit them now," Alicia said finally, "before reinforcements arrive." Jack pointed to a location on the alien map. "This looks like a command post. If we can capture their communication hub, we might find a weakness." They planned through the night. 20 resistance fighters would attack the alien command post while Jack and a small team would infiltrate and steal their technology. The next evening, they moved into position outside a glass office building the Voidwalkers had claimed. Through his goggles, Jack could see alien guards patrolling the perimeter. "Remember," Alicia told the team, "we need their tech intact. This is our last chance." The attack began at midnight. Resistance fighters with modified weapons engaged the guards while Jack, Alicia, and 3 others slipped inside. They fought their way to the central command room. Jack downloaded alien data while the others secured the area. "Jack, hurry!" Alicia called as alarms blared. "Almost done," he said, eyes fixed on the screen. Suddenly the building shook. Outside, explosions lit up the night. "We've been betrayed," gasped one of their team, blood seeping from a wound in his side. "Someone told them we were coming." Jack grabbed the alien tech and ran for the exit. The team split up to improve their chances. As he reached the street, Jack saw Alicia pinned down by Voidwalker fire. He moved to help her, but a blast knocked him backward. When he regained consciousness, Alicia and the others were gone. All around him, the resistance fighters lay dead or captured, and standing over him was a Voidwalker, fully visible in his special goggles, reaching down with a hand that seemed to phase in and out of reality. Jack woke up strapped to a metal table. His head throbbed. The room was bright white with strange symbols etched into the walls. He tried to move, but the restraints held firm. A door slid open. A man in a lab coat walked in, followed by a shimmer in the air that Jack recognized as a Voidwalker. "He's awake," the man said. He was older, with gray hair and tired eyes. "I'm Dr. Frank Winters, former physicist at MIT. You work for them?" Jack's voice was hoarse. Frank nodded. "They gave me a choice, help or die. Same choice you'll get." The Voidwalker moved closer. Without his special goggles, Jack could barely see it, just a slight distortion like heat rising from pavement. "They want to know how you can see them," Frank said. "No human should be able to. They've been watching us for centuries, hiding in plain sight." "Lucky guess," Jack said. The Voidwalker made a sound like static. Frank winced. "They don't appreciate humor. The device you created at the Arctic station, how did it work?" Jack stayed silent. The Voidwalker touched a panel on the wall. Pain shot through Jack's body. He screamed. "They'll keep doing that until you talk," Frank said quietly. "Trust me." The pain stopped. Jack gasped for air. "Frequency modulation," he panted. "They bend light around them, but they leave traces in the electromagnetic spectrum. I found the pattern." The Voidwalker moved to a console and manipulated controls with limbs that flickered in and out of visibility. "They're impressed," Frank translated. "They didn't think we had the technology to detect them." "What do they want?" Jack asked. "Earth. Resources. They're colonizers." Frank looked down. "They consider us primitive, blind animals who built cities by accident." The Voidwalker left the room. Frank checked the door, then leaned close to Jack. "Listen carefully, I've been studying them for months. They exist partially in another dimension. That's how they stay invisible. But there's a side effect. Full exposure to our dimension is toxic to them. Extended contact causes them pain." Jack's mind raced. "That's why they stay phased." "Exactly. But your technology forces them to become more visible, more solid in our reality. We could use that against them," Jack said. Frank nodded. "I've been working on something similar, but I needed data from their systems. I downloaded their command files before I was captured." "Where is it?" "Hidden in my boot, left heel." Frank quickly checked Jack's boot and found the small drive. This could change everything. He moved to release Jack's restraints but stopped when the door opened again. 2 Voidwalkers entered, followed by a third larger one. "The commander," Frank whispered. "He wants to interrogate you personally." The large Voidwalker approached. Unlike the others, this one was almost completely visible. A tall, thin figure with translucent skin that revealed shadowy organs beneath. "You have caused us trouble, Jack Harmon," it said in perfect English. "No species has detected us before. We find this concerning." "Sorry to disappoint you," Jack said. "Your resistance is futile. Our main fleet arrives soon. Earth will be cleansed and repurposed." "Cleansed?" Jack looked at Frank. Frank's face was grim. "They're not planning to keep humans around. Once the main force arrives, they'll eliminate us all." The commander turned to Frank. "You were not authorized to share that information." "He deserves to know what he's fighting against," Frank said. The commander moved toward Frank. "Your usefulness may have ended, human." Jack saw his chance. The dimensional anchor. Frank understood immediately. He slammed his hand on a nearby console. Alarms blared. The room's lights flickered. The Voidwalkers writhed in pain as the facility's systems overloaded. Frank quickly freed Jack from the restraints. "We have 2 minutes before backup systems engage," Frank said, handing Jack a weapon. "The exit is 3 levels up." They ran from the room, leaving the Voidwalkers temporarily incapacitated. As they fought their way through the facility, Jack realized they were in an underground bunker beneath the city. "If we get out, where do we go?" Jack asked as they reached the upper level. "I know where Alicia's team regrouped," Frank said, "but we need to hurry. The mothership enters Earth orbit tomorrow." They emerged into daylight just as explosions rocked the facility behind them. In the distance, a massive shape began to materialize in the sky, partially visible even without special equipment. "We're too late," Frank whispered. "The mothership is already here." Jack and Frank moved through the ruins of Denver, keeping to the shadows. The mothership hung in the sky like a dark cloud, partially visible to the naked eye. Smaller craft swarmed around it. 3 blocks north," Frank said, checking a small device. Alicia's team set up in an old bank vault. They ducked into an alley as a patrol passed. Jack's heart pounded. Without his special goggles, he could barely see the Voidwalkers. "Here," Frank handed him a crude pair of glasses. "Not as good as yours, but better than nothing." Jack put them on. The world changed. He could now see dozens of Voidwalkers moving through the streets. "There are so many," he whispered, "and more coming. The mothership carries thousands." They reached the bank building and knocked on the heavy metal door in a specific pattern. It opened slightly and a gun barrel poked out. "It's Jack," he said quickly. "I brought help." The door swung open. Alicia stood there, her face bruised but her eyes fierce. "You made it," she said, pulling him inside. "We thought you were dead." The vault had been converted into a command center. Maps covered the walls. Weapons and equipment filled tables. About 20 resistance fighters worked at various stations. "This is Dr. Frank Winters," Jack said. "He was forced to work for the Voidwalkers, but he's on our side now." Alicia eyed Frank suspiciously. "How do we know we can trust him? He helped me escape. And he has crucial information." Frank placed the data drive on a table. "The Voidwalkers are vulnerable. Full exposure to our dimension causes them pain, possibly death." Jack's technology, Alicia realized. It could force them fully into our reality. "Exactly," Jack said. "But we need to scale it up. Way up. We need to hit the entire invasion force at once." Ryan, who had survived the ambush, examined the data. "We'd need massive power, and a way to broadcast the effect globally." "There's a nuclear power plant 20 miles west," Frank said. "Still operational. The Voidwalkers use it to power their command center." "And for broadcasting?" Alicia asked. Jack studied the maps. "The old military satellite uplink at Cheyenne Mountain. If we can access it, we could create a dimensional anchor that affects the entire planet." They planned through the night. The data from the alien command post revealed that the main invasion would begin in 12 hours. They had one chance to stop it. At dawn, they split into 2 teams. Alicia would lead the main force to secure the nuclear plant. Jack, Frank, and 5 others would infiltrate Cheyenne Mountain. "If this works," Jack told Alicia before they parted, "the Voidwalkers will become fully visible and vulnerable. Your team needs to be ready to attack." "We'll be ready," she promised. "Just make sure that signal goes out." Jack's team moved through mountain tunnels, avoiding patrols. Frank's knowledge of Voidwalker patterns proved invaluable. They reached the satellite control room with minimal resistance. "Something's wrong," Jack said. "Security is too light." As if on cue, alarms blared. Blast doors sealed around them. "It's a trap," Frank realized. The main screen activated. The Voidwalker commander appeared, more visible than before. "Jack Harmon, did you think we wouldn't track the data you stole?" "Worth a try," Jack said, already working on the control panel. "Your resistance ends here. The dimensional anchor you planned to create would have failed. Your understanding of our biology is incomplete." Frank moved to another console. "Keep him talking," he whispered to Jack. "Maybe," Jack said to the commander. "But we learned something interesting from your data. Your ships use the same dimensional technology as your bodies. If we can't hurt you directly, we can still trap your fleet here." The commander's translucent face showed concern. "You cannot access the broadcast systems. We've locked them down." "That's what you think," Jack said as Frank silently worked. Suddenly, the facility shook. Explosions echoed from outside. "Alicia," Jack smiled. "Right on time." The commander barked orders in an alien language. The screen went dark. "We have minutes before they break in," Frank said. "I've bypassed the main security, but someone needs to manually activate the broadcast array on the mountain peak." Jack looked at the team. "I'll go. The rest of you get to the extraction point." "It's suicide," one fighter said. "The peak is crawling with Voidwalkers." "Then I better move fast," Jack replied, grabbing the dimensional anchor device. "Frank, get them out of here." As the others prepared to leave, Frank stopped Jack. "The device isn't finished. It won't fully anchor them." "It'll have to be enough," Jack said. "We're out of time." Jack ran for the access ladder as the blast doors began to melt from Voidwalker weapons. Behind him, Frank hesitated, then followed the others toward the escape tunnel. Outside, the sky darkened as more ships descended from the mothership. Jack climbed toward the broadcast array, the fate of humanity resting in his hands. Jack reached the mountain peak, gasping for breath. The broadcast array stood tall against the dark sky. The mothership loomed overhead, now fully visible to everyone. Smaller craft swarmed like angry insects. He connected the dimensional anchor device to the array controls. His hands shook from cold and fear. A warning light flashed. Power levels were too low. "Come on, Alicia," he muttered. "Get that reactor online." A blast hit the ground near him. 3 Voidwalkers climbed toward his position, their bodies flickering between visibility and shadow. Jack fired his weapon, hitting one. It screamed, a sound like metal tearing. His radio crackled. "Jack, it's Frank. We've reached the extraction point." "The device needs more power," Jack said, ducking behind the array as energy blasts hit around him. Alicia's team took the plant. They're rerouting power now. The array hummed as energy surged through it. Jack activated the device. The broadcast dish turned, aiming at the mothership. A pulse of energy shot upward. The air rippled. Every Voidwalker in sight suddenly became fully visible, tall, thin creatures with translucent skin and glowing organs. They screamed in pain, dropping their weapons, but they didn't die. "It's not enough," Jack said into the radio. "They're visible but still fighting." "Get out of there," Frank urged. "We'll regroup." Jack grabbed the device and ran down the mountain path. A Voidwalker jumped in front of him. Jack fired, hitting it in the chest. It fell, but more appeared behind it. He reached the facility entrance just as the door opened. Frank stood there with 2 resistance fighters. "I thought I told you to leave," Jack said. "You're welcome," Frank replied, firing past Jack at the pursuing aliens. They fought their way to a waiting vehicle. As they drove away, Jack studied the device. "The anchor worked partially," he said. "They're visible but not fully in our dimension." "We need to modify it," Frank said. "I have an idea." At the resistance base, Alicia greeted them with news. "Reports coming in from everywhere. The Voidwalkers are visible. Our forces are fighting back. But we're still outgunned," Jack said. "We need to finish this." Frank worked on the device while Jack studied the alien data. They discovered the mothership contained the dimensional gateway the invasion force had used to reach Earth. "If we can overload their gateway," Jack said, "we could trap them here completely, or send them back," Frank added. "But we'd need to get this device onto the mothership." Alicia pointed to a map. "There's a satellite uplink station near what used to be Colorado Springs, more powerful than Cheyenne Mountain. If we boost your signal from there, we might reach the mothership." They gathered their remaining forces, just 30 fighters. The Voidwalkers, though visible and vulnerable, still outnumbered them by thousands. The battle at the uplink station was brutal. Half their team fell in the first assault. Jack, Frank, and Alicia fought their way to the control room. "Cover the doors," Alicia ordered the survivors. "Give us time." Frank connected the modified device while Jack programmed the targeting system. Outside, the sounds of battle grew closer. "It's ready," Frank said, "but someone needs to stay and maintain the signal. The Voidwalkers will try to jam it." "I'll stay," Jack said. "No," Alicia stepped forward. "You understand the technology better than anyone. You need to survive to rebuild. I'll do it." Before Jack could argue, the doors burst open. The Voidwalker commander entered, its body now fully visible and clearly in pain. "This ends now," it hissed. Alicia fired, hitting it in the shoulder. "Go," she shouted to Jack and Frank. "I'll hold them off." They ran for the emergency exit as Alicia engaged the commander. Jack looked back to see her hit the broadcast button before a blast knocked her down. The sky lit up as the signal reached the mothership. A massive pulse of energy surrounded it. The ship shuddered, trying to escape Earth's atmosphere. "It's working," Frank shouted. "The dimensional anchor is trapping them here." The mothership's engines flared as it struggled against the invisible force. Then, with a sound that shook the ground, it plummeted toward the ocean. The impact sent a massive wave across the water. When it cleared, the mothership lay half-submerged, defeated. Across the world, Voidwalkers screamed as they became fully anchored to Earth's dimension. Their bodies, never meant to exist fully in this reality, began to fail. Jack watched from a hillside as human forces moved in to claim victory. "We did it," Frank said quietly. "We made the invisible visible, and proved humans are more dangerous than they thought," Jack added, looking at the fallen mothership. "They never saw us coming,